I do think there's a truth that we got to get to, because it can't be about me. It can't be about Ezekiel. It's only about Jesus. And like, that's all. And I've prayed on this many times. I'm turning my car in, quite frankly, one, because I can't afford it. And two, there was a lot of pride and ego attached to it from another chapter. But I remember, even though I'm turning in, God's still like, it's inconsequential. Drive whatever you want, right? Money's beneath us. So like, what? It's like, is it your God is the question. Yeah.
That we got to get to that point. And I always say this, I'm like, that same passage, that's what it talked about. It says, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where, the moth eat and, it can basically, it's a depreciating asset. Lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, for where your treasure is, your heart will be, or where your heart is, your treasure is, kind of like that. And I'm just like, man, so when I hear that, I'm thinking about hoarding. When I think about hoarders, I think about poverty mindset, but specifically the scarcity mindset that says, I have to hold on to it now because tomorrow, I don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. There's a fear mindset and anxiety attached to it. And you could be, and now we talked about the poverty people. Now you could be a millionaire and have the scarcity mindset. You could be a millionaire and say, I can't be generous. I can't give. Why am I going to bless when if I spend, then I'm going to not just have less, I'm going to be less. And so the Lord is targeting both parties that have that same mindset. He says, don't be like the pagans. And if you think about it, or pagans or the Gentiles, according to the Jews, the Gentiles were, I don't want to say this in a harsh way, but spiritually they would be considered orphans or foster kids in a sense. The orphan should be worried about tomorrow. The sons and daughters should not. So our relationship with money as believers should be so radically different. Whether you feel like you got it all or you feel like you got little, like you said, money should be so inconsequential that it allows us to love without inhibition. Like I can bless you because this don't own me. I have money, money doesn't have me. So it doesn't matter if I have $1 million, and it doesn't matter if I have $100. I have the same heart that allows me to give it all in both scenarios. And so I want to kind of deal with that, because for you to be in this position, it's one thing to say, I've always wanted money, but God, I'll give it up for you. It's another thing to say, I've had it. Lord, help me to bring this over to your kingdom and wash it in a way where I can help your people with these ways. When you sat in this chair, you know what he said? I got to tell y'all. He was like, this is different for me. I was like, well, what's up, man? He's like, because I know how to do this. Like I remember when I used to do situations and speak, and I could sell snake oil. I could just tell the people what they need to hear. I can make $1 like that. He said, this is different. The weight is different. The expectation is different. I got a totally different purpose, totally different reason. And that's how you know that money doesn't own you. Congratulations. That's how you know that money doesn't have you, because you got to be so reckless to say things that won't go viral, to do things that aren't going to be profitable, because you got a different master. I just wanted to say that, man. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate that, because as I was thinking about exactly what you were saying, he pointed me to Judges 7 with Gideon and the 300. Gideon takes 30,000 plus warriors, and God's like, no, less. So I need 1 million followers for my old account? No, I'll start over. The Lord wasn't in that. The house wasn't built with the Lord. It's in vain. And if he wants me to sanctify, I'm waiting for that confirmation. I haven't deleted this stuff, because I do think there's merit in people seeing my Egypt wilderness promised land journey. And so I haven't touched those platforms yet. But if God said delete it, I would have no problem with it. At my right hand of God right now. And it took 3 years though, bro. He spoke to me 3 years ago. It took 3 years to burn the pride and ego out of me. The whole reason I bought my car was so I could see people looking at me driving a G-Wagon. You know what I mean? Like, come on. That's like...
So basically you were Abraham. The Lord told you to raise your knife to the following, your success, the past. And I always thought it was interesting that God didn't necessarily have interest in the death of Isaac. he had interest in the depth of the potential of idolatry in Abraham's heart. You said, God burned it out of me. So it's possible that God may want to use that following, but he didn't want to use that following with that heart. He needed your heart to be different. And so that's just so liberating to me that there might be something that God may be wanting to do with you. Like there's something, and I think that desire to say, God, use this platform. Like that's not what you say. You say, God, I have nothing. Where do you want me to start? Start from zero. That is the most, for someone who is walking in ego and pride, it's kind of shameful. Like to have a million followers, or you got the blue check, or you have some type of status, and to kind of feel like you degrade yourself. Like it's like to be nobody after being somebody. It's just like, talk about that. Like what your heart had to go through to kind of undo yourself.
That's been the hardest part, is because I went from being that guy to like, oh, everything Anthony touched turns to gold. He's the TikTok guy. He's got the car. You know what I mean? Like, and I used to always say, look at the money I have. Look at the car I have. Look at the followers I have. Now I get to say, look at the God I have. You know?